Hi everyone and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Campbell, for another Meet the Elite team reveal. Super excited to say we've got Matt Corbidge back on the show. He's having another excellent season, so we're going to get into his thought processes ahead of Game Week 31 and ahead of the blank in Game Week 32. There are timestamps on the video if you want to hop around, but without further ado, let's get right into it. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. And Matt, welcome back to yourself, mate. It's been a good few weeks since you've been on the show, and looking at that graph there, it's been going rather well, hasn't it? How's the season panning out for you, mate?
Hey Tom, you good? Yeah, it's looking positive. It's looking positive. So I had a big game week 29 bench boost. So I think I got 30 points, which is my biggest ever. So that's
beautiful
pushed me up. So I've never managed to nail it. So yeah, it's the first time I've got it right. So yeah, that was a big week. So that shows how like 1 week can really change your trajectory.
Yeah, definitely.
Last week, game week, it was pretty average, but I think gotta take those peaks and troughs, So
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with how things are going. It's looking pretty good.
It is, mate, isn't it? So you're right around you're in the top 15k now. You can see you've still got your free hit chip left. We can see on the screen there that I'm sure you've got earmarked for a certain blank game week coming up, but not to put words in your mouth. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, guys. So look, I mean, it's going well. I can see here though in the Elite 11 league position, Matt, you're sitting in second place. Who are you hunting down? Who's ahead of you?
I think it's I have to double check. I think it's James, but like it's an elite league, isn't it?
It is so tough. It's so tough.
All day.
I've been allowed exclusive access to see the participants in that league, and I get to interview, one of you guys each week, and everyone's so damn good at this. So it must be such a difficult league to actually get ahead of your competitors. But look, you're set really well there, second spot, and a good few game weeks to try and close that gap and win it. So we'll have to see how it goes. Look, we're not going to stay on this slide too long though, Matt. We want to talk about how your Game Week 30 team panned out, what points you got and what thought processes went into those before we then look ahead to how you're set up for kind of one of these rare game weeks that doesn't have a blank, doesn't have a double. It's kind of kicking it old school. It's quite refreshing, isn't it? So let's have a little look at how you did in Game Week 30. So on screen, so we're on the prep, Matt. When I was saying I showed you this picture, you said it looked, quote, distinctly average. It doesn't to me. It looks like it's set up really, really lovely. So talk us through this team then, Matt. Who are you happy with? Who are you not so happy with? And what was the kind of thought processes that went into, say, starting the likes of, or rather leaving the likes of Jesse Marsch on the bench? Because it was a quandary I think a lot of people had in terms of which Brighton player to select, if any, for that match against Tottenham. What kind of went into your thought processes ahead of selecting this team for Game Week 30?
It was an interesting one, right? Like you said, it feels quite unique that there was no blanks, no doubles. So it feels like weird having a normal game week, right?
It does.
It's dominated by Haaland, right? I think those that brought him in and captained had a pretty decent week, like I did myself. Those that decided to wait, and I get that, right? I think some people didn't have enough money in the bank, or they were nervous about rotation around the Bayern Champions League games. I get why people didn't bring him, but yeah, it was always in my plan, and I think I had just enough money to make a direct move from Tony, so I didn't want to wait and be priced out of that move. So I brought him in, captained him. That made it a decent week.
Yeah,
so hard luck for those that weren't able to do that. In terms of like decision making, Shaw was an interesting one. Shaw I brought in as a long-term play because United have got the double in 34 and they're likely to have another one probably in 37. So I wanted him in the team for long term. So I thought I could probably bench him this week. So I didn't really cross my mind to kind of move him out, even though he's injured. McAllister versus March is an interesting one with kind of like the Brighton midfielders. And like, listen, anyone could have hauled, right? March got his assist, which is great. I think McAllister could have had a goal. It came off his his hip or something like that. That was disallowed as a handball. He had a assist for Matoma's disallowed goal, and he could have got a penalty. And the same goes for Matoma, right? All the Brighton boys could have hauled big. So it's a really tricky one. I think in hindsight, it might have been sensible for me to bench Fernandez because he was playing that deep lying kind of role, but he was pretty attacking as well. So I've got this problem where I've got too many good attackers, right? They're all of them could logically kind of play, but why I benched March, penalty takers just kind of like edged it. So McAllister's the Brighton penalty taker, Bruno's the United one. So decided to kind of start both of them really. So
Matt, just on that, just coming across the way that Brighton played, and you mentioned some of the moments that I guess played out in the Spurs game, and obviously share those thoughts as well. Has it led you to think that actually these guys are approaching sort of fixture-proof territory, and actually you'd be willing to back the attackers in any game, bearing in mind how they play and how likely any of those three, Mitoma, McAllister or March, are to return in any given moment? Obviously they play Chelsea in the next game week, which we'll talk about. Is your thoughts that they are assets that you'd be comfortable playing irrespective of fixture?
It's a really good point. I haven't really thought about it, but I think Brighton are probably the second, the best or second best team in the league at the moment. You've probably got Man City on form, statistic form, probably top, and then you've probably got Arsenal and kind of Brighton next. So I think you bang on there, Tom. I think if they're playing the likes of Spurs or Chelsea next week, you shouldn't be viewing this as a mid-table team playing a top four team. I think it's the reverse is true if anything. So I'll definitely consider that when factoring like the options moving forward, because there's depending on Rashford's injury, he's a prime candidate to move on. But then does it create a benching dilemma next week when I probably do want to play both March and McAllister just because of where Chelsea are at the moment and where Brighton are. So it's an interesting one.
It is. We'll have a look. We'll have a look at how your bench team set up in a moment. But I mean, that lends itself quite nicely to the Chelsea discussion. So Ben Chilwell sitting there with a big fat 0. That's not because he didn't play. Obviously, it was a bit of a stinker for him in being left out, coming on, booking. Not great. I'm in the same boat, so I'm not counting myself out of this as well, Matt. But they're about to play Real Madrid in midweek. Obviously, we're recording Easter Monday, and I've had him for a long time as well. Presumably, he's going to play more of an attacking role. But how are you feeling about Chelsea defence and Ben Chilwell ongoing with Lampard at the helm? Because I'm an owner and I'm uneasy. So I wanted to get your thoughts on whether or not he still represents a good FPL pick for the stretch.
He's been incredibly frustrating. I'm probably net down by like 8 points or whatnot by moving him out for hits. I think I actually moved Estupiñán for Chilwell a few weeks ago. So he's been frustrating. It's hard to say where Chelsea are. I wouldn't say they're a problem. Are they value and are there better options potentially? So I think both Kepa and Chilwell are potentially on the transfer out block for me. Just because I think there are better options, like namely Man City if you want to go there. And that comes with a lot of risks, of course. Chilwell and Kepa are probably the kind of like players I'd want to be moving on in my defence.
Yeah, and I mean that might still be the case, I'm sure, for you. But obviously we've got injury concerns. A lot of people watching, a lot of FPL managers watching, will own Marcus Rashford as well. Obviously, right now we don't know the extent of what looked like a groin injury. I mean, just completed the weekend's game, so we don't have any updates from Erik ten Hag. There is a European game, so we may get some updates and some information during the week. But in terms of whether or not there is, if there is an update that rules him out for sort of several weeks, Matt, or to the extent where you're like, actually, it makes sense to move him on. Have you got a player in mind? Is Jack Grealish sort of top of the pops? You just mentioned Man City there. Is that the sort of move that you'd be looking at, or is there anyone else sort of leaping out of the midfield pool of candidates that you'd think, do you know what, if I have to move Rashford on, that's where I'd be looking?
I think it's got to be Grealish, really. I've got pretty much no room in my budget, so I can't. Salah would be the ideal one, right? That's where the gap is in my team. Like, I mean, Liverpool, especially at home, are still great from an attacking point of view. We saw that against Arsenal on the weekend and kind of like a few weeks ago against other kind of top teams. Salah would be the ideal one, but I can't get him without major surgery given my budget. So Grealish, if Rashford's out for the long term and he's missing that double in 34, that looks like a risk. Grealish for me would be the no-brainer. Although I have to say, it's Man City with lots of fixture congestion. Grealish seems to be the top player on the wing at the moment, but we know he could easily be replaced by Foden or Alvarez. So it does have a bit of risk, but I think it has that upside is there, right? Given how he's playing and how City are playing, it looks like they're looking to blow teams away. Really,
yeah.
I think
He was good, wasn't he, in that Southampton game, Matt? He really did look impressive on that left-hand side, playing super advanced as well. So I'm sure he's going to be a popular mover, especially if we get news on Rashford. And it's quite nice for you having Bruno Fernandes already there to sort of offset the Man United sort of loss. You wouldn't necessarily it wouldn't be as impacted as other managers who suddenly would say, well, do you know what, I still want a bit of that double further down the road.
I mean, he's playing as a defender. He's been playing as a centre back, but like a ball playing centre back the last couple of games.
Weird one. He's so versatile, isn't he? But I was thinking about this actually. So Bruno Fernandes playing that deeper role, obviously played, I think he was man of the match in that game. Doesn't lend itself well to FPL, really. I think I remember seeing a header that was well saved, but a little late run into the box there. But, Casemiro coming back from his ban, Eriksen got a few minutes at the end there. You'd think there's a likelihood that he could revert to a more sort of 10-like role in the upcoming games with those players returning. And I still think if Rashford's out, you'd expect to keep the penalties from Anthony Martial as well. So he still seems like he's always a likely candidate for picking up points.
Spot on. I think he's a bit of a no-brainer. A bit of tongue-in-cheek because it's been a bit frustrating the last 2 games. He's suddenly become a number 6.
That's right.
The 10 that we're used to. But I think Casemiro coming in, he's not going to start playing 10. Eriksen's going to come in to dictate play. I think if Rashford is out, that probably makes Fernandes even more appealing. I think they'll be looking for him to be scoring goals. So I think for the running, he's a no-brainer.
He is,
I'm happy to my team, despite the two from an FPL point of view, the two kind of pretty average game weeks that we've had.
Fair enough, mate. Yeah, that makes sense. Look, let's have a little look at how you're intending to shape up ahead of game week 31. Obviously, lots of football to be played, lots of information, so the usual caveats apply, guys. But in terms of how you're thinking about setting up, this is how it's shaping up. Cool. So you've got one transfer available, Matt, in terms of haven't stockpiled 2 as yet. No plans, I'm sure, to deploy the free hit in 31. So the team's obviously going to look pretty similar. Where are you thinking? The Rashford news, I guess we're really reliant on getting that. I also wanted to get your thoughts on Odegaard and Arsenal as a collective, because we've had lots of questions about whether or not it makes sense to be jettisoning these players irrespective of how competitive the top of the league is. So start with Odegaard, please, Matt. He's your only Arsenal coverage at the moment. Is that something that you're looking to change, to augment, or is he on the chopping block down the stretch as well? What's your feeling on Arsenal as FPL assets right now?
Listen, they're a really good team. Like Martinelli was the one on the weekend who got the, but there's a bit of rotation there in midfield. Whoever it seems 1 week it's Saka, another week it's Odegaard, then it's Martinelli in there. All great price points.
Yeah.
I think really it's dictated by your chip strategy. So if you do have any your second free hit chip left, really I'm seeing 2 weeks as the obvious ones to play it. One is 32, the upcoming blank, and the second one is the double in 34, where there's a lot of the big teams kind of playing, so you can kind of go hard on a lot of those. I see. Strong teams in the league. Me personally, I think I'm committed to the free hit in 32, just because a lot of my players are blanking. I've purposely gone hard on Brighton, United. I've got Haaland in there.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea might be blanking as well. So pretty much all my team are blanking.
Yeah, your hand's going to be forced, isn't it, Matt? I think a lot of people will be, but it seems like it's been set up for that. You've retained that chip for that play, so it makes total sense.
Yeah, it was kind of deliberate, because if you go the free hit in 32, it means that you're very well set for the fixtures for the rest of the season, the double in 34 and probably the double in 37 as well. So for me, I think, Odegaard next week, I'm happy that I've got, Odegaard playing against West Ham away. I think, it could be one. We'll see what happens. I think West Ham are going to be fighting for their lives, right? So they could be an upset. But I can't look.
I wouldn't bet on it. I'm a West Ham fan, as you know. I wouldn't be betting any money on that. I mean, we managed to turn over a Fulham side that's definitely already on the beach and keep David Moyes in the job. So whether or not that's a good thing, don't know. But I wouldn't fancy us to give Arsenal too difficult a challenge, to be honest. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't know about that Liverpool game.
I'm keeping Odegaard. I'm quite happy I've got him next week, but for me personally, I'm not looking for additional Arsenal players just because of the fact they've got no doubles and free hitting in 32, where I believe they've got Southampton, I think, so they've got an easier fixture. And then for the run-in, they do have the tough run, right? They've got the likes of City, Newcastle to play, Brighton, I think, as well. So I wouldn't be looking in my setup, and if you're looking to free hit in 32, I wouldn't look to bring additional Arsenal players.
Well, we're going to talk in a moment. We're going to show on screen the fantasyfootballfix.com's fixture difficulty ratings for some of the run-in. Matt, we're going to look sort of ahead to game week 35 and show that on screen. So that might help sort of the viewers visualise that stretch of fixtures, not just for Arsenal, but for the other teams who actually have better run-in. And we'll talk about Liverpool when we get to that. I did just want to get your thoughts on, some of the questions we have, Matt, from a strategy perspective, is where you have players who you're super happy with. Let's say the Newcastle defence over the course of the season has been great. And you've also got Ollie Watkins, who's in great form. They happen to play one another in game week 31. You're intending to set them up kind of against one another. I'd be doing the same. We get questions from the viewers and on our social media in terms of whether or not that's a mistake to have a defence against one of your own attack. And I tend to think not. I tend to think, you back one of them to potentially to succeed and you roll the dice on that. What's your strategically, do you tend to try and avoid this, or do you just kind of accept it's part of the game and there will be, during the course of the season, times where you're going to have your defence playing against your attack and you've just got to accept that and not trying to get too cute with it? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of ignore it. I don't personally really care about it too much, really, because if you're going for the maximum points in a single week, you'd try and avoid it. But obviously, it's a 38 game week season, right? So, yeah, Watkins may score, Trippier may get an assist, right?
Yeah.
Or
fingers crossed.
Exactly. That's like the outcome. Like, and the worst one is like, I don't know, Douglas Luiz scores a goal and wipes out that double defense. But I don't like to overthink that. I just kind of like who I think individually is going to score the most points and then play them. It's an interesting point. I've got Watkins. Obviously, Newcastle got a solid defense. Yeah. I've got March on the bench at the moment. You do, right? Yeah. I may want to play him over Watkins potentially. I've definitely got a benching dilemma.
I was going to say, Matt, if Rashford's injury is, say, pretty nondescript and actually going to rule him out just for a week, obviously the blank as well, you'd expect him to then be back in game week 33. Would you be tempted to say avoid the temptation for Jack Grealish, knowing that you're going to want Rashford for later on in the season, and say I'm cool with I was going to say Jesse Marsh, we'll come on to him in a minute, but Solly Marsh coming on for Rashford there, and actually you'd play him away at Chelsea, bearing in mind the discussion we just had again for in relation to Brighton. It seemed like he would be perfectly acceptable for that game.
I think so. I think obviously City playing Leicester at home is the worry. Leicester defensively being incredibly poor, City being going forwards. I guess kind of like the saving grace there, if you did avoid Grealish, is hey, it's around Champions League, kind of like they could look to win it get one or two goals in the first half and just like chill, right? Or they could have lots of rotation. So I think if in that scenario, if Rashford, it seems like it's just a minor injury, or like you said, no real description on like length out, I would be tempted to hold him and then play March over kind of like Rashford. Yeah. And then I'm definitely going to make a move, because there's no benefit of me rolling the free transfer, because I'm free hitting next week. So
good point. Yeah.
To 31. So if Rashford's out for long term, I'll probably go Grealish. Yeah. If, like you said, it's there's no update or it's nondescript or like super short, I'll probably keep him and play March, and then I'd look to move either Chilwell, Kepa or Raya to a Man City player. So I could bring in Stones for Chilwell, for example. I could look to bring in. I know City have got they're in a bit of a run where they're like conceding one shot on goal and then letting in that shot.
I'm an Edison owner, and it's just doing my head in. It has done all season, so I'm glutton for punishment. So Yeah.
I think I might go there. Yeah, so I think it'd be either Stones for Chilwell or kind of Ray or Kepa out for Edison.
Yeah. Well, don't say I didn't warn you. So it's so frustrating. That 75th minute mark when they're 3-0 up. That's when they're at their weakest. Definitely. It's really interesting. Look, I mean, the Grealish one for that home game against Leicester. If you could guarantee he started, I'm not trying to put the frighteners on people, but just with around the Champions League games with the importance that's been attached to that trophy for Guardiola and his bosses. You can't guarantee anything, can you? But if you could guarantee that he started in that Leicester game, goodness me, it looks a tasty one, doesn't it? With them having no manager and they just made Bournemouth look pretty good, didn't they? So that takes some doing.
No, you're spot on. Yeah. But that's the risk you're running. You wouldn't want to move Rashford out if he's just out 30. He's back in.
Yeah.
If someone like me free hitting in 32 is back in 33, and then you bring in Grealish and he gets 1 point, and then it just screws your forward plans. So it's really one that's dependent on kind of the extent of Rashford's injury. If it's nothing, I'm probably tempted to move to City defence. If it's long term, I think Grealish is probably worth that risk.
I like it, man. That makes total sense to me. All right, cool. Look, we talked about some of the fixture difficulties, Matt, as well. So we pulled together a visual here to show some of the teams that have quote unquote better fixtures for the run in. So we wanted to get your thoughts on which teams to potentially target and potentially ones to avoid for the next 4 or 5 game weeks. So let's take a little look how that's shaping up. Rightio, guys. So we've included Game Week 30 on this one, which is obviously just completed, but we're actually looking ahead all the way through to Game Week 35. So that covers both the blank Game Week in Game Week 32, which we've got 3 of the teams that blank highlighted on here. So it's quite interesting that those teams are still super liked by the algorithm in terms of their fixture difficulty, and the double, as I say, in Game Week 34, which will play into that projection. But what I was noticing that on the team, and what we haven't talked about really so far, is Liverpool. Now, they top the fixture attacking fixture difficulty ranking here in terms of how fantasyfootballfix.com rates them. Are you looking in terms of trying to exploit that or trying to get in on that? Is there any kind of route that you're thinking, do you know what, that makes sense and I can actually target that? They've got this Leeds game in 31. They then play Forest at home, and Forest have been abject away. They travel to West Ham, so I won't be too biased about that one in 33. Then a double of Tottenham and Fulham, 2 home games before a game against Brentford in 35. So it's a lovely run, isn't it? Any plans or any opportunities for you to kind of exploit that?
No, 100%. It's a really good run, and obviously they've got a lot to play for, right? And they're going to be trying out their damn hardest to get into Europe. I think I've got a plan. So again, I'm free hitting in 32, right? So that kind of dark blue game, that kind of Forest at home, beautiful. Which is a great fixture. I'll be loading up on 2 or 3 Liverpool players for sure. Like Salah will definitely be in. Probably one of Trent and Robertson, and then I'll have to judge like what's the rest of their front 3 looking like, because there's a bit of rotation at the moment between like Darwin and Jota and a few others. So I think Salah will be a no-brainer for that free hit, and will probably be the captain for sure. And then Game Week 33 and 34, I'll be looking to bring in at least 1 or 2 Liverpool players for sure. And for obvious reasons, Salah will be the one that I'll be targeting. And a notable absence on this page of that teams with good fixtures is Spurs, right? So unfortunately, I think Harry Kane would be the make weight for me to like free up those funds to bring in Salah in 34. But I think even beyond 34, Liverpool have had better fixtures than Spurs. So it's definitely on my mind, and I'm looking to make those moves. Liverpool on my mind, sure.
So as a Harry Kane owner, so looking at this, we can extrapolate that they've got obviously Bournemouth in 31, which great fixture. Bournemouth did play well in the game against Leicester, but I think that's more down to how Leicester are performing and how they're set up right now. I mean, he's been the kind of Harry Kane is inevitable, kind of doing the rounds on Twitter and the like in terms of the points that he gets. He's been amazing, right, for owners all season. And when you look at the course of the season retrospectively, when we finish, it'll be a great average, won't it, over the course of 38 games. Is it going to be easy to part ways with him?
It's going to be tough, but I think he's the only option for me to get Salah, and then I think like Liverpool just have a far better run in.
They do,
and they've got that extra fixture in 34, and like what's positive is that both at home I think there's been a big difference between Liverpool's form at home versus away, and one of those teams is Fulham, who've been great over the season, but there's a bit of narrative which I tend to agree with, that they're just like going through the motions now. Mitrovic is out. I think he's a bit of a kind of figurehead in terms of how they set up. They're safe. They're not getting into Europe most likely. Yeah. So yeah, on the beach, right? So that's a great fixture, that Fulham at home. So yeah, I think I'd take Salah over Kane for that kind of like run-in, like from 32 onwards, for sure.
That makes sense, mate. And it just so it's only that Leeds game that quote unquote you'd miss in terms of Liverpool players, and it's not so bad, bearing in mind that you'd have Harry Kane for a Bournemouth game as your alternative. That's not something that you'd necessarily mind too much, is it? Definitely. Any other teams on here, Matt, that you sort of say to the viewers and to the managers watching that you'd say actually that fixture run is worth investing, or would you prefer to take a look at some of the teams which have kind of more of a tough run and say, well, actually these are ones to avoid? Any of these teams leaping out at you as saying actually we should look to bring in some of their players?
Well, I tend to ignore Fulham and Leicester just because of their form. Despite those good runs, I think for me it's teams that I'm planning to load up on anyway, which is reassuring, right? It's nice seeing it set up like this. So bear in mind, free hit on 32, so that kind of like that big red for those blanks, it doesn't really matter for the way that I'm going to set my team up. So yeah, if you exclude that 32 blank, Man City, Brighton and Manchester United, they've got great runs, all right, and they've got that double in 34. So those are the teams that I've targeted in the past with Brighton and United, and will be targeting now with City. So it's probably those three teams I think are going to be quite central to my transfers over the next couple of weeks.
I like it. Look, Matt, I am going to bring up the next slide now just to show the teams who have a tougher run. But whilst I'm doing that, I should also highlight to the viewers that if you head over to fantasyfootballfix.com, you can use the fixture difficulty tool that we have to exclude Gameweek 32 as well, and then the projections will factor in that omission as well. So that's quite a cool feature as well. If you are in a position fortunate enough to be able to free hit during 32 and you don't need to worry about this, then that's actually something you can do to actually target the run outside of that particular blank game week. But let's take a little look at the teams which the algorithm is suggesting we might want to avoid. So here we go, guys. And again, this does include the blank game week 32 that we mentioned as well. So we talked about Ben Chilwell at the beginning of the video. Matt, we're seeing Chelsea are not fancied by fantasyfootballfix.com's projections whatsoever. And I suspect that, they do blank in 32. They've played the Wolves game already. We would have thought that was a decent chance for a clean sheet. Turned out to be a 0-pointer for you and I for Ben Chilwell, so that's disappointing. Brighton we've talked up, haven't we? They then blank Brentford at home in 33, but that feels like quite a long way away. So who knows, Matt? Maybe Ben Chilwell stay in your team is going to be shorter lived than you and I first thought.
Yeah, I think I don't know about you, Tom, but when I brought him in, I was gambling that they'd get a double. So I think they are scheduled, but it's 37, which is ages away. So I was gambling that would be scheduled for 34 or even earlier. So a bit disappointed how that's kind of like that's come about. But Chelsea, I mean, it's not the worst run, but like all those fixtures, they're difficult games. They're games where they're probably going to, outside the Wolves one, you'd expect them to concede, right? Brighton, Brentford, Arsenal, Bournemouth away. It's a tough game at the moment. So I definitely wouldn't be looking to bring in Chelsea players, and Kepa and Chilwell, it's a justification of them being on the chopping board, right? Sure,
and I mean, look, the league, I think they're in 11th place at the time of recording. They're going to prioritise as much as they possibly can the Champions League. I mean, it's a difficult assignment, isn't it, to put it mildly, against Real Madrid, for goodness sake. But you'd think that will be the team that they play their best team in. If Chilwell's in that, then suddenly he might not be fancied for the fixture anyway, for the game either side of that. So it's a concern there for Chilwell owners, of which again I am one as well. So there are other teams here which you might have had in your thoughts. I mean, I find it really interesting that Villa aren't particularly fancy. They're top of this chart, but obviously this is the bottom half, I guess. Presumably that's just the lack of the double game week against some of the teams that they're being compared against. But I really like obviously we talked about Ollie Watkins, and defensively, Matt, they've kind of looked a bit more assured recently as well under Emery. The likes of Tyrone Mings, who Corby's talked about on this video, and I think it was Dan Bennett who also mentioned him as well. Are we going to make it 3 for 3? Is Tyrone Mings somebody that Corbs is going to throw his name behind as well, or is it going to be 2 and done?
Yeah, maybe that's a bit too extreme.
Fair enough.
That's not my best interest like the rest of the boys.
He hasn't made it onto the thumbnail yet. Tyrone Mings has not made it onto the thumbnail. No, we tend to go with better players on that.
We'll see, like game week 38. I'll come on. Game week 38. If I've got a transfer I can burn, I'll bring in Mings, put him as a vice or something. But I think Villa have been like great since Emery's come in. Like those fixtures are okay, so I won't be looking to move Watkins. We spoke about Kane and Spurs, right? So Brighton is a difficult.
They just had that, and he picked up his goal, didn't he? Yeah.
Bournemouth at home is a good game, but then after that, Newcastle, Manchester United, Liverpool, Palace, who now they got easier fixtures, and with Hodgson, that's a tough run, right? So I think that's a big justification to think, hey, is he worth the outlay? We also spoke about Arsenal, and like game week 32, that Southampton game is good. If you're free hitting like myself, you'll load up on free Arsenal players, no doubt. I'll probably go for the 3 midfielders, Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard. But outside of that, those are tough games, right? Those are very tough games. So probably looking at this, I think I'd be looking to. I'll keep Odegaard for 31, as I mentioned. 32, I'll triple up as part of the free hit. 33, 34, I'd be looking probably to move on Odegaard to make space for the likes of Salah. I think I've got some decent midfielders I want to keep. So probably Odegaard will go out as part of a wider move with Kane going to a really cheap striker, and then Odegaard can go to Salah. But that's a tough one, right? So I can that draw with Liverpool is quite massive for that title run in there. Those are some really difficult games. Wow.
Definitely. Really good thoughts. And it looks like it's aligned really nicely in terms of retaining Harry Kane for that Bournemouth game. Free hit in 32, and then it makes total sense to rejig the team to get Salah in for that lovely run. And it's against a Tottenham team which hasn't been functioning terrifically, has it? Despite Kane's great returns, it just looks like that's aligned lovely for how you've planned that. Matt, as ever with you elite managers, it's not coincidence, is it? You guys are ahead of the curve as always. Matt, been a pleasure, mate. Is there any other team that you want us to be aware of? Any teams that you'd say avoid, or any teams that you'd say target before we wrap things up?
I think we covered them, Tom. I think the blanks and the doubles will be dictating strategy, right? Which is sometimes a little bit dry, but having an extra game is kind of massive. So yeah, it's City, it's Liverpool, it's Brighton, it's United, it's Newcastle to a lesser extent. Those are the teams that I think you want to be loading up on. Looking at this, Chelsea aren't a great team to be, but I think
that's the nature. That's the video. The video's determined that Chelsea are not a great team, and what we're
you've convinced me. I think you came in with an agenda, convincing me.
That 0 pointer stung for me, man. So I've come in to try and convince you that he needs to be moved on. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Always nice to talk to you, and you're having another wonderful season. It'd be really interesting to see whether or not you can turn that second place finish into a top one and pick up the gold at the end of the season. And hopefully we will get you on before the season rounds out. But thanks ever so much for giving up your time, Matt. And guys, do please smash a like on the video on your way out. Do please leave a comment down below for Matt to answer. Let us know how you're set up for Game Week 31, for Game Week 32, the big blank in Game Week 32, and the double ahead of 34. Do please subscribe to fantasyfootballfix.com and to the fantasyfootballfix.com YouTube channel. And I will see you all next week. Have a very, very good week. Goodbye.